Helldivers 2 is getting review bombed again, but it's not for the reasons that you probably think. So there's a lot going on here, but essentially what is happening is the Chinese player base are really mad at Arrowhead. I think because of a translation problem. They were under the impression that you could actually fully liberate a city on Super Earth. So a lot of their focus was on equality on sea, which is basically Beijing in the real world. And yeah, the progression of that was pumping up. I think most players were actually playing on that city as well. And yeah, it was getting close to 100%, but it never got to 100%. And well, obviously the reason for this is the planet is actively under an invasion, and we just need to hold the cities, that's the key word here, until the Illuminate fleet strength is gone. Now, this has caused the Chinese player base to go, well, you know what, actually, the game's just rigged. This is ridiculous. We've held this city. What's going on? But that's the thing. You've got to hold the city until the fleet strength is gone. But this has resulted in a massive load of review bombing. We need to take a look at this, though, because it's not as simple as what I've just explained. There's a lot going on. Take a look at this. This is side by side of the Equality on Sea city operation. You've got the Chinese and you've got the English. Well, you can see on the English, it says Mega City 94.22066 held. We're holding the Mega City. Completing this operation helps hold this city. Successfully holding cities significantly contributes to the planet's defense. And take a look at the Chinese one. It says defense success. So that would imply that, you know, we've won. We have defended. It is successful. So why hasn't it reached 100%? Why isn't it complete? What is going on here, Arrowhead? And also, I think, like this would be from the Chinese player's perspective. You maybe you've taken time off work. Maybe you're piling like loads of hours into this, seeing that bar get closer and closer, and you want it to get to the 100, and it doesn't, simply because of this catastrophic, to be honest, translation problem. Because it isn't a success. It is not a success until the Illuminate fleet is reduced to 0 strength, which it isn't at the moment. So this has caused a lot of confusion, and honestly, I fully believe this is Arrowhead's fault. So over on Reddit, we've got a breakdown from a Chinese Helldiver. I'm going to read this off because it will give us a bit more context. As a level 150 Chinese Helldiver veteran who both plays the first and second game of Helldivers, I would like to explain the current ongoing drama and situation to the English-speaking communities, to let you understand about what is happening in the Chinese communities at the moment, and why did this turn into somewhat of a controversy. Please keep the post civil. I do not want to see people trying to clawing out each other's faces here. Firstly, the situation regarding the EOS defense campaign, so the Equality on Sea defense campaign. It has drawn a lot of attention in the Chinese gaming communities and even outside of the gaming community due to the passions of the Chinese Helldivers, who are now proudly fighting side by side with Helldivers coming from everywhere, including the US and European countries, despite IRL political differences. However, the campaign has drawn in a lot of attention, and there is some influx of new players who did not fully understand about the game, who only care about defending the EOS till the final victories. Such excitement did not went well when they found out that EOS can't be completely retaken, as it is a defense campaign to finish off the Illuminate invasion fleet. Add on to that the Chinese translation of the game on a defense percentage makes it seem like that the city can be completely taken back from the invasion, which are certainly not helping. Not to mention the communication barrier between communities on the internet. Well, if you know the reason. So lots of rumours are floating around and begun to brew inside the Chinese community, which make many think that this entire thing is Arrowhead trying to make every global city fall, including York Supreme. Many Chinese divers are pretty upset about its falling and are suggesting to rename the DSS as DSS York Supreme or DSS Yorktown on the side note, except PC, which is Arrowhead's own hometown. So that is the Prosperity City, which it's in Sweden, and that is the capital of Super Earth. And so you've kind of got like a lot of things, people thinking the final battle is going to take place on Prosperity, and if that's true, then that's Arrowhead forcing the issue. And again, that plays into this whole narrative from the Chinese player's perspective of, actually, you're not even letting us protect our city, you're just allowing the campaign to go on. So you can kind of see, right? Anyway, this person goes on to say, With all of those things that are brewing up and turn into a huge controversy, many voices in the Chinese communities turn against Arrowhead as a company on the basis because they cannot clearly see how did their hard work pay off without clear feedback or indication. And as the communication from Arrowhead is not exactly clear about the final result, the current popular saying is that Joel is trying to force the player base to have a brilliant last stand in Prosperity City instead of respecting the players' hard-working effort and choice of equality on sea, which led to the review bombing. Whether it is true or not, this is what is going on. And mind you, it's only been a day since this happened, so we might see more of such things in the next few days unless there are clear explanation coming out to address those things. The Chinese Helldiver community is just as every other player communities with all different kinds of players. I'm posting this because I'm tired of seeing the Reddit turning into a wave of hatred against the Chinese Helldiver community in general. Feel free to ask questions and I will answer them if I have time. So what is the moral of the story? Well, I mean, firstly, you can't take a city you already control. You are literally holding it against the enemy invasion until their invasion forces basically hit zero and they can't sustain the invasion anymore. Then you win. The problem is this is not communicated in the Chinese client. It isn't communicated in the Chinese version of the game. So it doesn't sort of make sense. You think as a player, actually, it's going to get to 100% and we're going to win, but you're not. And then the other issue becomes Prosperity City wasn't actually, well, it wasn't even under attack until today. So you couldn't actually go over there and play on that city. So you only had equality on sea because obviously Super New York got destroyed. And it's like, well, okay, there's only one city left. We need to keep this one alive. And everyone was focusing on that. And it just happened to be that it was the Super Earth version of Beijing. So, of course, the Chinese players were really latching onto that. But like I said, everyone was playing on it. I was playing on it as well. But we understood, right? Because the client was explaining to us, this is you just got to hold it. Hold it for this period of time and then you win. The enemy attrition, you can push the bar back by completing operations and missions, which is what we've all been doing. The problem now is when you think about what I've just gone over in this video, when that gets extrapolated out to what is happening right now, if equality on sea suddenly becomes, I don't know, destroyed, or there's a massive push from the Illuminate, then we all go and fight in Prosperity City. You can see how that's feeding into the narrative of, well, Joel just wants us to have this massive, glorious last stand in the capital, which just happens to be, you know, where Arrowhead is based. It is a frustrating situation, and I'm sure this is going to be quite frustrating for the developers because, you know, on the other hand, you've got what is, I think, a fantastically good update to the game. I know there's some issues, don't get me wrong. I mean, the stratagem bug is friggin' terrible. They really need to sort that out because everybody inputs their stratagems really fast. I mean, how many times have you called for an Eagle airstrike, right, or reinforcements? I get them off really quick, but then it doesn't actually work because there's a bug. So you have to slow down. It's really frustrating for reinforcements. And this can actually get you killed. And you can lose missions because you're not actually getting your stratagems off in time. Which is frustrating. I get that. So that needs to be sorted out. Arrowhead has always been... it's typical of them to not really have like the best quality control. When patches come out, a lot of things tend to break. But if you just ignore all of that and you go, well, what have we got here? You do have... You know, you've got a game, an experience that you can only get in Helldivers, and I think what they've managed to do is actually really cool. So I'd be really pissed if I was a developer looking at this, going, you know what, I'm pissed as a fan of the game, looking at it, going, it doesn't warrant this level of negativity in these review bombs, but you can understand why it's happening. And I think if I was the game studio, I'd take a step back and I'd say, you know what? They're explaining to us what the problem is here, so we can go ahead and we can make changes and we can explain what's gone on. And they really need to do that, you know. And maybe Arrowhead will, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the situation, guys. That's why the game is getting review bombed at the moment. And we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But they really need to deal with their Chinese community and be, well, they need to explain the game better to them and explain what the hell is going on. And yeah, the last thing they want is players thinking that the game is rigged and there isn't really any kind of choice. Because, I mean, I said in a recent video, the game is not rigged. If you go out there and you look for leaks, you will see that there is two different endings to this invasion of Super Earth. We either win or we lose. So they are preparing for both. They wouldn't make both of the like news reports, would they, if they just had one thing that it was all going to end as. All right, guys, I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And I want to know if you're enjoying Helldivers 2 at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. Jumping in and jumping out. It's really cool. I just want to see what happens now. And I guess within like 12 hours or so of the recording of this video, we're going to find out what happens as the next phase, or rather the final phase of the invasion could possibly begin. But I'm hoping that if we do hold Super Earth, and we get to go on some sort of counter-campaign against the Illuminate, which maybe will take us through the wormhole. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. I've been Stylosa. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you soon.